Philadelphia was able to hide their Week 18 plans for no more than 24 hours, as the latest leaks from Eagle Land reveal not only what Nick Sirianni has in mind, but why he's going that route. Plus a big update on Jalen Carter following his impressive return versus Buffalo, what the Rams' loss means for the Birds, and Ken Patullo's response to that horrific second half versus the Bills. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. Everything right now is still up in the air for Philadelphia and the rest of the NFC, for at least the next few days, as debates are raging around the National Football League about what you should do with your starters in Week 18. And while the Eagles have not officially made an announcement to us, the fans, Nick Sirianni just so happened to spill the beans during his weekly press conference, as only Nick Sirianni can, where he revealed if the starters will in fact play in Sunday's home finale against the lowly Washington Commanders. And I personally don't like the decision. First, though, how about a second chance to enter the Jordan Spector art Nick Foles piece? This thing is absolutely incredible. If you want to go ahead and enter, be subscribed, drop a like, and why don't you just comment down below, simply go Birds. Winner announced on Saturday's show. Now, first things first. Monday night's interception-filled debacle by Matthew Stafford certainly made things a lot simpler for us wondering who Philadelphia could play in the wildcard round. As now, a win versus the Commanders on Sunday, plus a Bears loss to the Lions, guarantees not only the 2 seed, but a date with the Green Bay Packers, while a loss to the Commanders or a Bears win would lock in the 49ers or the Rams, depending on what happens with their games this coming weekend. And that, to me, makes the Eagles' decision in Week 18 so darn simple. Like, you're guaranteed to play the Green Bay Packers and avoid the Rams, the 49ers. Go for the 2 seed, try and win. I've been saying all week long, I think the starters should play. But, of course, as of this afternoon, it sounds like the Eagles are not going to listen to me and will at least rest some of their starters, at least according to the NFL Network's Mike Garafolo, and I guess technically Nick Sirianni, if you can understand his rambling press conference answer to this very question.
We don't know what we're doing yet, right? Or you guys don't know what we're doing yet. We're leaning and we're getting all the information and going. But this is a marathon of a season, and I look back, and I guess to say why would we not play? Because that's your question. I said if I look back and how beneficial some of the buys that we've had have been, right? That's part of the reason why you think through it, right? It's a marathon of a season. You give you guys some rest. You get some time to think through some different things, even though you're preparing for an opponent as you go. Both times that I've been here that we've been to the Super Bowl, we've had that opportunity for a bye. And that's 22 and obviously 24. In 21, we created ourselves a bye as well. You had the opportunity to do that. Now it didn't, we didn't go to Tampa and win because we didn't win that game, obviously. And 23, we played a little bit in that aspect. And so all these different scenarios, like you have a bunch of different scenarios. And yes, your seating's not locked down yet, but you are thinking, hey, can I put ourselves in the best position seating wise, but while also you're thinking to yourself how important, buys are and creating them if you don't earn the right for the first round buys.
Okay, sorry about that. I know we all hate Nick Sirianni's ramblings. That took forever for him to say some pretty simple stuff here, but as somebody with a degree in deciphering Nick Sirianni's rambling, I think I know exactly what he was just saying. Sirianni, in his past, honestly has gone both ways. For example, back in 2021, Philadelphia rested starters in Week 18 versus the Cowboys to get players like Jalen Hurts, who was dealing with a concussion at the time, healthy. Philadelphia's backups lost that game 51-26 and followed it up in the wildcard round with an absolute stinker versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then, 1 year later, 2022, Philadelphia had to win their Week 18 matchup versus the Giants to clinch the NFC East, and by doing that, the number 1 overall seed. But as Sirianni said in that presser clip, again deciphering here, 2022 is a great example of using the 1 seed bye week to get players healthy for a long playoff run. Then, in 2023, Philadelphia had a chance to win in Week 18 versus the Giants and get help to lock up the number 2 seed. Philadelphia would win that game. They would not get the help, though, but they also lost A.J. Brown to a knee issue, which resulted in him missing the Eagles' wildcard game a week later versus the Bucs. We all know what happened in that one. They got absolutely destroyed. And then, of course, last season, Philadelphia was already locked into the number 2 overall seed. They rested starters in Week 18, used that as their little bye week before 3 straight playoff games and a very successful but long playoff run. And so all of that was what Nick Sirianni was trying to say, is that he has done both things, both ways. He's played players in 2023, he's rested players in 2022, and the result is he's going to rest the players because he wants his guys as healthy as possible. Also, I want to give a massive shout out to the sponsor of this video, Fanatics Live. Now, if you're like me, you probably heard a ton recently about the sports card world. I have a ton of friends who are really into it right now. If you're more interested like me in getting into the hobby, well, this app, Fanatics Live, is 100%, in my opinion, the best way to do it. It's a 24/7 community where you're buying and ripping cards live with hosts and other fans. And if you're just starting out, you have to try their instant rips because they're digital packs, but the cards inside are real, they're physical, and they're professionally graded. And I'll demonstrate how one of the instant rips works right here. Got a pack to go ahead and open up. The host opens it up live for me, which you see, and boom, there we go. I got Carson Beck. And what's cool is that if you don't want to keep that card, so you don't like Carson Beck, Fanatics Live gives you an instant offer for app credit at 90% of the market value. You can trade it for something else or just have that graded slab shipped right to your house because, again, this is a real card. And if you want to chase massive hits without buying a whole box, you can jump into breaks, where you basically buy a spot, usually corresponds with a specific team. Hopefully you get the Eagles, and you keep every card pulled for that team. And they even have live auctions where spots start at just $1. You bid, you win the spot, and you watch the wheel spin to see which team you go ahead and get. It's a total blast to watch the chat go wild when a huge card actually hits the table. And right now, new users can get a free instant rips pack with a graded card inside just for joining your first stream. So just tap the link down below in my description box and download the Fanatics Live app to get your first free pack today. And listen, I totally understand. Like, heaven forbid, AJ or Saquon or Jalen Carter or Quinion Mitchell goes down with an injury. It would be awful. That could happen any single week throughout the NFL season. We can't just play, scared of injuries week after week after week. Personally, my big fear, it's not injuries. It's watching the Lions beat the Bears, which both teams, by the way, have said they're playing their starters this coming Sunday, and then Philadelphia's backups losing to the Commanders and just squandering the number 2 overall seat. I said it before, but we'll say it again. Playing the super banged-up Packers at home, someone Vic Fangio, aka Jordan Love, has absolutely owned the past couple of times, and then turning around and hosting the Bears or any other NFC West team sounds so much easier than opening up against the Rams at home and then going on the road the next 2 weeks. And by the way, it's not that I'm scared of the LA Rams. I mean, come on, they just got absolutely destroyed by the Atlanta Falcons. That was not a good game on Monday night, but I would rather play them right now instead of the red-hot 49ers because Nick Sirianni, at least in the past, has had Matt Stafford and Sean McVay's number for at least half a decade. The Rams, again, they're not my worry. I just want an even easier first-round opponent in Green Bay, and then, maybe even more importantly here, more home games after that. But of course, I'm not the head coach. Nick Sirianni is going to do whatever he wants to do, and it sounds like, again, we just explained it, he's going to go ahead and rest the starters. And by the way, I don't not trust Tanner McKee. I know a lot of people are excited to watch Tanner McKee. I'm kind of excited to watch him as well, but there's no guarantee Tanner McKee and a bunch of backups for sure wins this game, which is why I personally would like to guarantee that they're going to win this game. Either way, though, it sure sounds like stars are going to be rested, McKee's going to be out there, and we'll sit back and I guess cheer for the Lions at the exact same time. Still, though, LA losing to the Falcons on Monday night does further prove, at least for now, that no team in the NFC is perfect, and Philadelphia can easily beat any of them if, underline that right there, they play a solid game, especially on defense. Because since their bye week, Vic Fangio's unit boasts the second best EPA drive in the NFL, and looked even scarier this past Sunday versus the Bills, thanks to the return of Jalen Carter, who, by the way, said after the game that this was the best his injured shoulders have felt all season long coming off of that minor surgery. Which honestly is great news because apparently even Vic Fangio admitted today he had no clue what level of Jalen Carter the Birds were about to get entering the Bills matchup this past week.
Yeah, I thought he played well. I really didn't know how he would play because he missed 3 games, I believe, and didn't practice until this past week, during that time. And I thought he played well, and I think he's off to a good start, and hopefully he'll build on that and play good down the stretch here and into the playoffs.
Also fantastic, staying with the defense, how about watching the film from rookie linebacker Jahad Campbell? He was absolutely incredible. He actually ended up as PFF's highest-graded Eagle defender on the entire day. Had 7 tackles, 2 catches allowed for 13 yards, 1 PBU, a quarterback pressure, and the all-important fumble recovery.
Yeah, I thought he did good. Obviously there's plays he'd like to have back and do over, but we don't get mulligans. But I do think it will help him moving forward, if he has to play again this week for Nakobe, and then if he has to be called upon in the playoff game.
As you look around the rest of the NFC, there's only one other elite defense throughout the entire playoffs. I think Philadelphia is 1, and then Seattle is number 2. But Seattle just gave up 37 points to the LA Rams 2 weeks ago. They've had some very kind of iffy games the past couple of weeks. The Panther one is a good example of that. In reality, there's one elite defense. It's Philadelphia's. The rest of them, not that good to borderline terrible or super injured. And again, if you're wondering how I feel with the Philadelphia Eagles entering the playoffs, even with the offense, we'll talk about that in a second, they can go on a run. They can go on a run because the defense, it's red hot and playing lights out football. Which is exactly why I find the Twitter calls this afternoon to sign free agent cornerback Trevon Diggs so odd. The former Cowboys All-Pro cornerback was suddenly released this afternoon, reportedly due in part to play on the field, but also this weird attempt to stay an extra day in Washington with his family instead of flying home with the team on the Cowboys' most recent game on Christmas Day. Now, the argument for those who want to sign Diggs are very quick to remind everybody the Eagles did submit a waiver claim for Darius Slay just a couple of weeks ago, but were one up by the Buffalo Bills and it never happened. Although personally, I see that move as Howie looking to bring back an Eagles legend who's familiar with Fangio's system in order to have some depth for a playoff run. Diggs is neither of those and also coming off an injury-plagued season where a lot of Cowboy fans seemingly today are happy to see him gone. I personally think Adoree Jackson has earned the right to keep his job, at least the rest of the season. My confidence level is at a near zero that the Eagles are even going to be interested in Trevon Diggs. Sadly, though, that same confidence level is not the same when it comes to the Eagles' offense because they've proven to us once again that week after week after week, all of us literally have no idea which iteration of KP's unit we're going to go ahead and get. As Philadelphia, for example, versus the Bills, went back to their league-leading hitch count, which, oh my gosh, is so stupid, after, 2 weeks ago, scheming routes so darn well versus the Raiders and obviously the Commanders, and even in the first half versus the Bills themselves. And likewise, not to be outdone, Patullo today had his press conference and was asked about what happened in the second half. He simply answered that they had some bad first down plays, and that killed each drive.
Really, when you look at it, is the amount of drives we had and plays and some of the starting positions. It was the first down thing again. We had 4 drives where we had inefficient first downs, put us in 4 second and longs. And then from that, we were in 3 third and longs. And, when you're doing that, when that's happening, it's going to be very hard to move the ball. And that's the unfortunate part of it. We had the one backed up drive from them -1. We have to get it out. We ran again on second down. We didn't get much. And then third down, we had some pressure and that was a punt. And so when you look at those drives, it gets frustrating because we need one play.
Yeah, Patullo, clearly you had some bad first down plays, but aren't you the one calling those plays? Couldn't you maybe not run back-to-back runs on 4 of your 5 drives to end that game? Mix in some play action under center, all things that worked out in the first half. I don't know. It's too late to go ahead and ask for anything different. We're at basically the end of the regular season. This is what you're going to get with the Philadelphia Eagles, and what we need to do is pray the first half Eagles show up every single half in the postseason. But I do think there is a positive today because a lot of people are trying to blame Jalen Hurts. It was his fault, not Patullo or the execution or the offensive line in that second half. But then if you watch MJ's breakdown on Twitter, where he goes through every single one of Jalen Hurts' 7 incompletions in the second half, it's very educational for those of you who still want to blame QB1.
There's no way you can look at that second half and say Jalen Hurts was the problem. I see Devontae Smith getting held. I see Dallas Goedert covered in the flat. Nobody's open. Your guys throw the ball away. Now, this is 3rd and long. Look at what Tyler Steen does. What is going on? Come on, dog. You push Cuz right into Fred Johnson. Fred Johnson fall down. Free rusher at Jalen Hurts. He evades the sack and then throws away the ball. This pass, A.J. Brown probably shouldn't have got the ball, and Hurts should not have thrown this. They motion Devontae out. It's A.J. one-on-one with Christian Benford, and A.J. doesn't create separation. Now, I would argue Hurts, don't throw that ball. Do not throw that. 4th pass of the second half. It's 2nd and long, and Devontae Smith catches the ball, and they overturned it. That was a catch. This is another 3rd and 10. And who's open? Who's open? Who's open? By the time Darius Cooper is open on this dig route, there's a rusher coming to Jalen Hurts before Darius Cooper breaks in on this dig route. Then what happens? A throwaway. This was Hurts' only sack of the game, and it actually negated a safety. If he doesn't make that play, that's a safety. Another 3rd down. Let's see what Hurts sees. Who is open? Who is open? Can somebody tell me who's open right here? The only person that you maybe could have hit was Darius Cooper, but Teron Johnson was right there. 4th quarter, less than 4 minutes left in the game. You need your Pro Bowl, All-Pro, Super Bowl MVP to convert on this 3rd and long. This is what happens. He throws the ball to Devontae Smith, it goes right between Devontae Smith's hands. And honestly, this was a perfectly thrown ball. It was away from the safety, and it was in Devontae Smith's vicinity, went between the brother's hands. You got to make that catch.
Finally, one quick roster highlight that I got to go ahead and mention because it's very odd. Philadelphia yesterday released their only long snapper on the roster, Charlie Hughlett, who we talked about a couple of weeks ago. When healthy this season, he's been absolutely fantastic and has not played in a game where Philadelphia's lost. And he was the long snapper this past week in Buffalo in the driving rain when Jake Elliott made both of his long field goals. I have no idea why they just cut their only long snapper. Are they going to re-sign with the practice squad later this afternoon? Sign somebody else they had their eye on a different practice squad? Very strange entering the postseason. And again, he's been pretty darn good so far this year. He was injured. His replacement wasn't that great. We talked about it on the show a couple of weeks ago. But they made the roster move, and my job is to tell you that. A lot of people didn't realize it. So I don't know. Howie Roseman, is he cooking something or something else? Overall, though, I do think Philadelphia is in a good spot just because I want them to play their starters on Sunday and guarantee they have a chance. Number 2 overall seed does not mean that I'm right or it's the right move. I totally get the argument that maybe Tanner McKee can ball out. Hopefully he will win that game, and then you still got to hope the Lions win as well, and you don't want to play your starters, maybe get hurt just for the Bears to win and negate the Eagles winning anyway. But it does sound like Philadelphia's going to rest their starters, and now we sit back, relax, like hopefully the Eagle starters do. They get healthy and then prove to us it was the right decision by beating the brakes off of either the 49ers or the Rams in week 1 of the NFL wildcard. But we'll cover it all here. There's plenty more stuff happening the next couple of days and weeks. They could change their mind. I mean, technically, they've not officially said it, although, as I explained to you, it's all but guaranteed. But as I said, plenty more stuff happening the next couple of days and weeks. I'm Thomas Mott on a Tuesday. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.